took a big breath, and I went down, and I opened my eyes in my mask in the darkness with my flashlight, and I saw, like right in front of me, this huge eyeball, like about the size, I don't know, of a saucer, like this big, staring, unblinking right at me. And I freaked out.
Some places on Earth were never meant for us to see. The surface is a fading memory. We are plunging into a crushing abyss, where the laws of nature are entirely rewritten. Imagine sinking past the final rays of sunlight into a freezing void where the only lights belong to things hunting in the dark. Down here, toxic pools of heavy salt water sit on the ocean floor like trapped lakes. Towering white vents spew boiling chemicals, building ghost cities out of pure poison. Humanity has spent decades studying the universe. Yet we have fully mapped and studied less than 5% of our own ocean. We dropped our cameras into the deepest trenches, expecting an empty wasteland. Instead, we found shadows longer than blue whales, hunting as a massive single mind. We found creatures with 20-foot tentacles, bending at unnatural angles, hovering like alien puppets in the pitch black. We found giant squid stretching through the darkness, appearing for only a few seconds before disappearing forever. Alien ecosystems are blooming around fallen giants, and terrifying predators possess abilities that shatter modern physics. Why did space agencies suddenly stop exploring the ocean floor to look at the sky instead? Who or what created one of the loudest sounds ever recorded beneath the ocean before it suddenly disappeared forever? Deep beneath the Atlantic, an entire city waits on the ocean floor. Every tower is real, but not a single one was built by human hands. So, who built it? And if 95% of this pitch-black world is completely unstudied, what unthinkable things are swimming down there right now, waiting to be found? Today, we are going deeper than anyone has ever dared to uncover every single one of them. There is a place on Earth where the sun literally ceases to exist. If you sink 3,300 feet below the surface, you enter the bathypelagic layer, the midnight zone. Down here, the temperature hovers just above freezing. The pressure is 100 times greater than on the surface. It is the largest ecosystem on the planet, and it is completely, terrifyingly dark. In November 2021, a team of researchers from the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute sent a robotic explorer named Doc Ricketts down into the Monterey Submarine Canyon. This canyon, just off the coast of California, is an underwater abyss deeper than the Grand Canyon. The mission was routine, mapping out the dark, muddy seafloor, looking for tiny sponges and deep-sea coral. Inside the control room back on the surface, scientists were watching the live feed on an array of glowing monitors. For hours, there was nothing but empty water and marine snow, dead organic matter drifting down like ash. Then, the camera panned. At the very edge of the ROV's floodlights, a shadow breached the light. It wasn't a fish. It wasn't a shark. It was an immense, dark crimson mass, hanging perfectly still in the freezing water. In the control room, The casual chatter stopped. The ROV pilots adjusted the thrusters, pushing the robot closer. As the lights fully illuminated the entity, the scale of what they were looking at became horrifyingly clear. It looked like a ghost, a dementor suspended in the abyss. This is Stygiomedusa gigantea, the giant phantom jelly. Hovering directly in front of the ROV was a pulsing, translucent bell over 3 feet wide. But that wasn't the terrifying part. Trailing beneath it were 4 massive, dark, velvety ribbons. They weren't tentacles, they were mouth arms, and they stretched an impossible 33 feet into the darkness. For the researchers staring at the screens, it was a moment of pure cosmic dread. The creature moved with absolute, dead silence. It didn't swim. It undulated. Here is the most unsettling detail of this entire encounter. The giant phantom jelly was first discovered in the year 1899. Yet, in the 120 years since then, across millions of hours of deep ocean exploration, human beings have only seen it alive about 100 times. It is one of the largest invertebrate predators on Earth. It is the size of a school bus. It lives in every ocean on the planet. And yet, it is essentially a ghost. We often look up at the stars and wonder if we are alone in the universe. But the Monterey Bay encounter proves we don't need to look up to find aliens. If an apex predator stretching 33 feet long can remain hidden in the dark, right off the coast of California, what else is swimming in the 95% of the ocean we haven't seen yet? In 1912, one of the most famous ships ever built disappeared into the North Atlantic. The Titanic sank beneath the waves, and for decades, nobody knew exactly where it was. Because down there was no sunlight, no way for humans to simply go looking, just kilometers of black water pressing down on whatever had fallen into it. It wasn't until 1985 that explorers finally found the wreck, more than 3,800 meters beneath the surface. And that discovery changed something. It showed us just how much could be hiding beneath an ocean that had swallowed an entire ship, and kept it hidden for more than 70 years. But decades later, another expedition went into the Atlantic. They weren't looking for a lost civilization. They weren't looking for a shipwreck. They were studying an enormous underwater mountain called the Atlantis Massif. Then the cameras saw something. At first, it looked like a wall. Then another appeared, and another. The deeper the explorers moved, the more enormous white towers began emerging from the darkness. Some rose nearly 60 meters above the seafloor. There were no roads, no windows, no doors, no ruins. Yet from a distance, it looked disturbingly like a city. A city sitting thousands of feet beneath the Atlantic, where sunlight had never reached. The explorers had just discovered something that had never been seen before. They called it Lost City. And standing there in the darkness, the towers looked almost impossible. But they weren't built by humans. They were formed naturally as seawater reacted with the rock deep beneath the seafloor. Slowly building these enormous structures in the darkness, they were still growing. And the strangest part, this place had been building itself for more than 120,000 years. And somehow, life had made this place its home. The ocean covers more than 70% of our planet, and yet, we've barely seen what's underneath it. As of 2026, only 28.7% of the global seafloor has been mapped in modern, high-resolution detail. But actually seeing the deep seafloor, we've explored less than 1,000th of 1%. Think about that. We've sent machines billions of kilometers into space, while an enormous part of our own planet remains hidden beneath the water. And down there, there is no sunlight, no horizon, no distance. Your entire world ends where your lights stop. And the deeper we look, the stranger the ocean becomes. And the more we discover, the harder it becomes to believe we've seen everything. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Because when people talk about the unexplored ocean, there's one question that keeps coming back. Could something not from Earth be hiding down there? Aliens. Not little green creatures from a movie, but something genuinely unknown. Something that evolved somewhere we haven't reached. Or something that didn't originate here at all. It sounds impossible, until you remember just how little of this world we've actually seen. We've discovered ecosystems completely isolated from sunlight, animals with abilities that once seemed impossible, and signals powerful enough to travel across entire oceans. But here's the terrifying part. If an alien civilization wanted to stay hidden on Earth, the deep ocean might be one of the best places to do it. No sunlight, almost no human presence, thousands of meters of water between them and the surface, and an environment so enormous that we could search for decades and still miss them. We've also recorded unidentified objects near the water. Military sensors have captured unidentified objects moving near the surface of the ocean. One 2023 recording from a U.S. military infrared sensor shows a small circular object moving against the ocean background. It was recorded, it was tracked, and it remains unidentified. And that's when the ocean becomes more than unexplored. It becomes a blind spot. Because searching for something in the deep ocean has one enormous problem. You have to know where to look. And we don't. There could be something moving thousands of meters below the surface, outside the range of our cameras, beyond the reach of our submarines, moving through a world we've barely seen. And if something intelligent were down there, we wouldn't necessarily hear it. We wouldn't necessarily see it. We might not even realize that we've already passed right above it. Because the darkness doesn't just hide what's there. It hides how much is there. And somewhere beneath the surface, there are still things we've never found.